Hey guys, welcome to the Earth Science for the where am I? Oh, Goodwill Excel Center, and this is going to be homework help, which I call Heart Academy for January 9th, 2019. Okay, so today in class, I had such a blast with everybody in my first period for science, and then also for my second period for science, which is like the third period of the day that no one really shows up to in the afternoon because people go home. But those who showed up today, I hope you had a good time today with me with the Skittles Lab. And also remember, if you're in my second Earth Science class, which is the afternoon class, you do not have to finish the Skittles lab for homework. So this video is really for the people that are in the Earth Science 1, my morning class, okay? Because Earth Science 1 morning class, you do have to finish it for homework. So as you can see, I'm in our Google Classroom, okay? And in the Google Classroom, I don't know if you noticed it, but it's changed over. So everything looks completely different here in the Google Classroom, but everything looks different, but works exactly the same. Remember, if you're just looking to see where the classwork stuff is and where the assignments are, click on classwork. If you're using your phone, that information might be down here at the bottom on the phone. It'll say the stream, the classwork, and people down here on a phone. Usually iPhones put them down on the bottom. I don't know why. All right, but if you're on a computer or what do you call it? A Samsung, or Android, usually it'll be up here, okay? So, and then what happens when we go to classwork, everything is organized by week. So we have week 1 stuff that's right here, okay? And today's homework, the Skittles Lab. Now I'm going to go ahead and open this using Kami. So those of you who've already downloaded Kami, you'll see how easy it is to use this app, and you can actually submit it electronically through your phone instead of doing it on paper. But everyone who was in class today got the paper form anyway, so yes, you can go ahead and continue to use it on paper. And here we go. So I'm just opening it using the Kami app. The Kami app is good for people who miss something and they still need to do it, and I don't have any more copies, or they can do it from home and submit it. This is a good app to use because what it does is allow you to write on the assignments and submit it to the Google Classroom right from your phone, electronically, paperless. Okay, so let's see where we left off. So in both Earth Science classes, actually, we left off either here, and then you're going to start here. So I'm going to go back and fill in information as if I opened up a bag of Skittles myself and I separated them, okay? So I'm just going to make up some numbers here, right? Because all these questions are already answered no matter what class that you're in of mine, right? So I'm going to go do that. I'm going to use my numbers. Remember, your numbers are going to be different. So what you have to do is remember today is what each one was, what all your numbers were, and they should already be written down. Okay, so I'm going to start here as if you need another explanation of how to do this part of your lab. So remember, we're going to take all the colors. Now, let's say my first color that I got in my bag was yellow, right? So yellow, okay. How many yellows did it have? Let's say my bag contained 13 yellow candies, right? My next color, let's say green. Let's say the green contained 9 in my bag, right? Next color, purple. Let's say I had 15 sounds good. 15 purple Skittles in my bag. What's the other color? Orange. Let's say that there were 8 oranges in the bag. And 1, 2, 3, 4. What color am I missing? Red. And red, right? Let's say that I had 11 red Skittles in the bag. And what we're going to do here is add all these up to figure out what your total is. Now remember, your total is going to be different than mine because we all had different bags of Skittles. So you got to remember when you're filling out this part, you're using the information from your bag of Skittles, not the information I'm making up here. Okay, so I have 13 plus 9 plus 15 plus 8 plus 11, right? That gives me 56. So this means my bag of Skittle had 56 altogether. Wow, that 5 looks horrible. I'm going to redo it. So this bag had 56 Skittles altogether, right? So there we go. Your number is going to be completely different, remember, because you're putting how many yellows you got. You're putting how many green you got, not what I got. You're putting how many purple you got. You're putting how many orange you got. You're putting how many reds you got, okay? Now, with this information, we can figure out the percentage of these Skittles, right? And remember, during class, except period 2, my afternoon class, we just left it here, right? Remember, you do not have to do this part unless you want to and be able to come to class prepared tomorrow and have it done anyway. Okay, so now Here we go. The percentage. Here's a trick. And I'm going to use this piece, I'm going to use a side right over here to show you what this is and how to set up the percentages, okay? So on a piece of scrap paper, down here at the bottom, wherever, I want you to set up two fractions. This fraction equals this fraction. This fraction always has 100 underneath, so this formula does not change, okay? Down here will be the total amount of candy you have altogether. Remember, I have total of 56 pieces of Skittle altogether, so that goes here. This will never change, okay? And then for every single one of these, you're trying to find out X, okay? You're trying to figure out what X is. The way we do that is plugging in the color of Skittles one at a time. For instance, yellow. How many of my Skittles are yellow out of 56? 13. Put that here. 13 out of 56 Skittles are yellow. To figure out what that means as a percent, all we have to do is cross multiply and divide. What I mean by cross multiply is multiply diagonally. So multiply diagonally and divide. So 13 times 100, what I'm doing is this, 13 times 100, okay? And so that's going to give us 1,300. Use a calculator if you need to, right? So you can just use your simple phone calculator for this. 13 times 100, as you can see, that's 1,300, okay? And then I'm going to take that number, right, and divide it with the 56, okay? So the 1,300 is still on my calculator, so now I'm going to divide by 56, okay? So my answer is 23.21. All right, so I'm going to use that. Now the answer I got is a lot more digits than just 23.21, okay? So, but that's all I'm going to use is like 23.2. That's good enough. So I'm going to put 23.2 for my percentage, okay? As you can see, 23.2. That's fine. You don't have to do more than one number after the digit, okay? And so what you need to do is fill in the entire chart using the same method, except use a number of the next color. Green, I had 9 of those, right? So I'm just going to erase this up here, and I'm going to put a 9. And I'll do the same thing. Cross multiply 9 times 100, which is 900, and divide it by 56. So in your calculator, you're going to do 9 times 100, right? 900 divided by 56. I have 16.07. So I'm just going to call this as 16, okay, or 16.0. Remember, your numbers are going to be different. Your numbers must match the numbers that you have, but the process is the same. Just take that number, whatever the color is, cross multiply and divide, okay? And your number of 56 is going to be different than mine because some of you will have more than 56 pieces of candy, some of you will have less. Just make sure that you're using your own numbers, okay? So I'm going to do my next number, which is purple, and I have 15 purple. So I will take the 9 out and then do 15 to represent 15 out of 56 Skittles are purple. Same process, cross multiply, 15 times 100, 15 times 100, that gives me 1,500, and then I'm going to divide that by the 56. By 56, I get 26.7. So I have 26.7 here, okay? Going on to the next number. As you can see, our next number is 8, because that represents that there are 8 orange Skittles in a bag. So I'm going to take the 15 out and place an 8. 8 times 100 is, 800, and divide that by the 56. This gives me 14.28, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to use the 14.2 as my answer, or 14.3, or 14.28, whichever. You don't have to use all those decimal points at the end. Okay? Now this time I have red, and red is represented by 11. So there are 11 out of 56 candies in a bag were red. So cross multiply again. 11 times 100, 11 times 100 equals 1100 or 1100. Divide that by the 56. I have 19.64. I'm just going to say 19.6. Okay? There you go. So now what should happen is once you fill in all of these numbers, and remember, do not use these numbers. Use the numbers of whatever you got in class for here and keep changing them out. And keep multiplying and dividing to get your percentages, okay? So what should happen after that is that you should get close to 100% as the answer. So to figure out if you were close with what you were doing, add all these up. and it should be close to 100. So I have 23.2 plus 16.0 plus 26.7 plus 14.2 plus 19.6. Wow, when I added all that up, I got 99.7. Isn't that close to 100%? Yes, it is. So this is very acceptable. So now you know the percentages of your candy. So in my bag, I'd had 13 yellow Skittles. That means 23.2% of my bag was yellow Skittles. In my bag, I had 9 green Skittles. So that means, as a percent, 16% of my bag was green Skittles. I had 15 purple Skittles in my bag, so that means 26.7 of my bag was Skittles that were purple. And then I had 8 orange ones, and that means I had 14.2% of my bag were orange Skittles, and had 11 red, and that equaled to 19.6% of my bag were red Skittles. Okay? So what's cool about this is that it is an equation that is completely awesome that you can use for anything when you're trying to figure out a percent of something. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in class tomorrow. Okay? All right, so after we do this, you have your graph, right? So with the graph here, okay, you can name your graph anything you want. Skittles Magic. Because I'm awesome. I'm playing around, okay? Name your graph whatever you want, right? And typically I tell students that they should make this, okay? Let's see, let me do 1 point. There we go. They should make this go up and by twos, okay? So this bar represents 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I am no longer going by twos. I don't know if anybody caught that. I got to go back. 12. I was going by twos, and then I started counting by ones. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, and 26. Okay? Now, all we do is the colors again. I'm going to skip this row, but it's okay if you didn't. Okay? No, actually, I'll use it. And then what I'm going to do here is place down the colors and a number. Remember, I had yellow and frequency, which means how many were in the bag. It's 13. That's what I'm going to write. Yellow. Okay? And then, how many in the bag were yellow? 13. So I'm going to go up to 13. Notice that 13 is actually not visible on this number line, right? So, but you know, 13 is like right here in the middle of 12 and 14, right? And so that's why I'm going to color just a little bit above the 14 to represent, or a little bit below rather, the 14 to represent that this answer is 13 because it's a little bit higher than 12. So just go up a little bit, like that, right? And then you'll be able to color all of this in. So that's where my 13 is, and so this graph represents 13 yellow Skittles, right? Okay, the next one I had was green, and I had 9 green Skittles. Okay, so I will do that. And so what's going to happen, I'll label this one as the green, okay? And I had 9 green ones, 2, 4, 6, 8. So 9 is right in between here, isn't it? This is where 9 is, right? So I'm going to go a little bit above here to represent 9 green Skittles, okay? All right, so now you have an idea of how to do the rest of them, and you can go ahead and continue your own graph. Down here is your conclusion of this experiment, right? As we're doing the scientific method, okay? So the conclusion, and all you're going to do is answer the questions. Answer to the question addressed in question number 1. So remember the question number 1 is way up here, and the question was, right? State the problem, and our problem was how many of each color are in the bag, right? So you can start there, right? And remember, the best way to do this is start by saying if your hypothesis was right or wrong, because you will know if your hypothesis is right or wrong according to the information that you put here, okay? So now, most of us will be wrong because we're off with how many of each color there was as we were guessing, right? Making our educated guess. So I'm going to put my hypothesis was wrong. And then I would put there were really, and then you put the correct numbers in. 13 yellow, 9 green Skittles, blah, 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 blah. And you do the data that way, okay? And then you can put how close you were, because remember, this is your conclusion. I was close in my hypothesis. Remember, you're doing your data analysis too, and you're concluding the results. How did you feel during the lab? This lab surprised me. This lab surprised me, and why did it surprise you? Let's say you thought there was going to be less Skittles in the bag. Okay? Or talk about what you enjoyed in lab. Because whatever. And you can talk about anything that you want to as your conclusion. Okay? So that wraps it up for the day, and I will see everyone tomorrow.